The elevator that changed everything. The gunshot shattered the underground parking garage like thunder in a tomb. Sarah Chen didn't think. She just moved. One moment, she was walking 3 steps behind. Marcus Westfield, CEO of Westfield Technologies, her boss of exactly 47 days, as they headed toward his waiting town car. The next, she was throwing her 120-pound frame against his 6'2" body, sending them both crashing behind a concrete pillar. The second shot ricocheted off the pillar where Marcus's head had been a heartbeat before. "Stay down," Sarah gasped, her knee throbbing from the impact. She fumbled for her phone with shaking hands while Marcus stared at her with the confused expression of a man whose entire understanding of the universe had just been violently rewritten. The screech of tires echoed through the garage as the shooter's car fled. In the ringing silence that followed, Marcus finally found his voice. Why did you—" Sarah was already on the phone with 911, her voice steadier than she felt. "Yes, shots fired at the Westfield Technologies building, underground parking level 2. We need police immediately." 20 minutes later, sitting in Marcus's office while police swarmed the building below, Sarah accepted a bottle of water with hands that had finally stopped trembling. Marcus paced behind his mahogany desk, running his fingers through his usually perfect hair until it stood in wild peaks. "You have a daughter," he said suddenly. It wasn't a question. He'd clearly been scrolling through her personnel file on his computer. "Emma, age 7. You're a single mother." Sarah's spine stiffened. "Yes, sir. Is that going to be a problem?" "A problem?" Marcus stopped pacing and stared at her. "Ms. Chen, you just risked your life, risked making your daughter an orphan to save mine. I'm trying to understand why." Sarah met his gaze evenly. She thought about the comfortable answer, the professional one. Instead, she told him the truth. "Because everyone matters. Mr. Westfield, you have people who love you, people who need you, just like I do, just like Emma does." She took a sip of water. "I didn't really think about it. I just couldn't watch someone die when I could do something." Marcus sank into his chair. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, "The police think it was related to the Henderson merger. Someone who lost money when we restructured." He looked down at his hands. "Someone tried to kill me because I made them poor. And you saved me even though I'm the kind of person who makes decisions that make people want to kill me." "You're not responsible for someone else's violence," Sarah said quietly. "Maybe not, but I am responsible for my own choices." He looked up at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Tell me about Emma." The question caught her off guard. "Sir, your daughter. Tell me about her." Sarah hesitated, then pulled out her phone, showing him her lock screen. Emma at her 7th birthday party last month. Chocolate cake smeared across her grin, wearing a homemade crown. "She wants to be a veterinarian," Sarah said softly. "She brings home every stray cat in the neighborhood. We can't actually keep any because our apartment doesn't allow pets. But she spends her allowance on food for the strays. She has names for all of them." Marcus studied the photo for a long time. "Where is she now?" "Aftercare program at school. I'll pick her up at 6. You'll be late. Because of me." "Mr. Westfield." "Marcus. I think you've earned the right to call me Marcus, given that you saved my life." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Marcus, then. And it's fine. Emma understands that sometimes work runs late." "Does she?" Marcus's voice had gone soft. "Or does she just say she does because she's 7 and loves her mother and doesn't want you to feel guilty?" The words hit Sarah like a physical blow because they were true. She thought of all the school events she'd missed, all the dinners eaten reheated because she'd worked late, all the times Emma had fallen asleep waiting for her. The weight of single parenthood, of being everything to someone, while trying to build a career that could give them both a better life, settled on her shoulders like a familiar coat. "I do the best I can," she said, her voice catching slightly. "I know you do." Marcus stood abruptly. "Come on, I'm driving you to pick up Emma." "That's really not necessary." "Ms. Chen, Sarah." He grabbed his jacket. "Someone just tried to kill me, and you're the reason I'm standing here. The least I can do is make sure you're not late to pick up your daughter. The aftercare program was in a worn elementary school on the other side of the city from Westfield, Technology's gleaming headquarters. As Marcus's town car pulled up, he'd insisted his driver take them. Sarah saw him taking in the chipped paint, the patched playground equipment, the security bars on the first-floor windows. Emma burst through the doors the moment she spotted her mother, backpack bouncing. She was mid-sentence before she even reached the car. And then Mr. Whiskers caught a whole mouse. "Mom, a whole entire mouse. And I told him he was such a good cat. And Mrs. Patterson says there's a field trip next month to the animal shelter, and can I go? Please, please." She stopped dead when she noticed Marcus stepping out of the car behind her mother. "Oh," Emma said, her eyes going wide. "Are you a prince?" Marcus blinked. For the first time since Sarah had met him, the unflappable CEO looked genuinely flustered. What? "You're dressed like a prince," Emma explained patiently. "Like in Mom's movies. The ones with the big houses and the fancy cars." She looked at the town car, then back at Marcus. "Do you have a castle?" "Emma!" Sarah's cheeks burned. "This is Mr. Westfield. He's my boss. We worked late, so he gave us a ride." "Oh." Emma processed this, then brightened. "Is Mom in trouble?" "No," Marcus said quickly. "Quite the opposite. Your mother is. She's remarkable, Emma. She helped me very much today." Emma beamed with pride. "Mom's the best. She can fix anything. Last week our sink broke, and the landlord said he couldn't come for 3 days. But Mom watched a video on YouTube and fixed it herself with just a wrench and some tape." "Did she?" Marcus's gaze slid to Sarah with something like wonder. The drive to Sarah's apartment building was filled with Emma's chatter. She told Marcus about every cat in the neighborhood, about her teacher's new haircut, about the book she was reading where a girl solved mysteries with her dog. Marcus listened with an attention that seemed to surprise Emma almost as much as it surprised Sarah. Most adults, in her experience, tuned children out after about 30 seconds. When they pulled up to Sarah's building, a 6-story walk-up with tired brick facade, Emma bounced out and immediately gasped. "Mr. Whiskers!" She pointed to an orange tabby slinking around the corner. "That's him. That's the one who caught the mouse." "Emma, we need to get inside," Sarah began. But Marcus had already crouched down, extending his hand to the cat. To Sarah's shock, the usually skittish Mr. Whiskers approached, sniffed Marcus's fingers, and allowed himself to be petted. "He likes you," Emma breathed. "He never lets strangers touch him. You must be good." Marcus looked up at Sarah over Emma's head. Something unspoken passed between them, a moment of connection that made Sarah's heart do. Something complicated in her chest. "Would you like to come up for dinner?" The words left Sarah's mouth before she could stop them. "It's nothing fancy, just spaghetti, but it's the least I can do after the ride." "I would love that," Marcus said, and he sounded like he meant it. Sarah's apartment was exactly 50 square feet of careful maintenance and creative storage. The couch had been reupholstered twice. The kitchen table wobbled unless you knew to put a folded napkin under one leg. Emma's artwork covered every available wall space, and library books teetered in stacks because they couldn't afford many of their own. Sarah watched Marcus take it all in as she boiled water for pasta, waiting for the judgment, the pity, the awkward distance wealthy people always created when confronted with how the other half lived. Instead, Marcus gravitated toward Emma's drawings. "Did you make all of these?" he asked. Emma nodded enthusiastically, launching into explanations of each piece. This one was Mr. Whiskers. This one was the dream where she could fly. This one was her mom as a superhero, because her mom was basically a superhero anyway. "Your mom saved my life today," Marcus said quietly. Emma's eyes went huge. "Really?" "Really. Someone tried to hurt me and your mom protected me." She was very brave. Emma threw her arms around Sarah's waist. "You're okay, right, Mom? You didn't get hurt?" "I'm fine, sweetheart." Sarah smoothed Emma's hair. "Just a bruised knee." "Nothing serious." Over dinner, spaghetti with jarred sauce that Sarah had doctored with garlic and herbs, served on mismatched plates. Marcus asked Emma more about the cats, about school, about what she wanted to be when she grew up. He told her about the time he'd wanted to be a veterinarian too, before his father had insisted he study business. "Why didn't you do what you wanted?" Emma asked with a child's blunt curiosity. "I thought I had to do what was expected," Marcus said slowly. "I thought that was what success meant, meeting other people's expectations." "But that's silly," Emma said. "Success should mean being happy." Sarah watched Marcus process this 7-year-old wisdom with the expression of a man having a revelation. After dinner, while Emma got ready for bed, Marcus helped Sarah wash dishes at her tiny sink. "Thank you for this evening," he said quietly. "I can't remember the last time I had a meal that felt real." As opposed to a business dinner, a networking event, a fundraiser where everyone wants something. He dried a plate carefully. "Emma doesn't want anything from me. She just talked to me like I was a person." "You are a person, Marcus." "I'm not sure I've been one in years." He set down the dish towel. "Can I ask you something? Why are you working as an executive assistant? Your resume showed a master's degree in non-profit management. You were running community programs." Sarah's hands stilled in the dishwater. "Emma got sick 2 years ago, leukemia." Marcus's face went pale. "Oh God, Sarah, She's in remission now," Sarah said quickly. "The treatment worked, but it left us with medical bills that were substantial. My previous job didn't have great insurance, and the hours were long, but the pay was barely above non-profit standard. I needed something that would let me dig out of debt, eventually buy us a real home, give Emma stability." She met his eyes. "Your company offers the best benefits package in the city. That's why I applied. You gave up work you loved for health insurance. I gave up work I loved for my daughter's life. There's a difference." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "What would you do if money weren't an object? If Emma's medical bills were paid and you had complete freedom?" Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That's a fantasy question, Marcus. Humor me." She dried her hands on a towel, staring out the small window above the sink at the city lights beyond. "I'd start a program for low-income families with sick children. Not just financial assistance, but real support, help navigating the medical system, connecting them with resources, providing emotional counseling. When Emma was sick, I felt so alone. The medical stuff was terrifying, but almost worse was the crushing weight of trying to handle everything by myself. If I could help other families not feel that alone." She trailed off, then shook her head. "But that's not realistic. I have bills to pay and a daughter to raise." What if it could be realistic? Something in his tone made her turn to look at him. "Marcus, I've spent 20 years building wealth," he said. 20 years making decisions that prioritize profit margins and shareholder value. Today someone tried to kill me because of those decisions. And you, someone I've worked with for less than 2 months, someone I barely know, threw yourself in front of a bullet for me." He leaned against her kitchen counter. "Why?" "I told you." "Because everyone matters." "I remember." Marcus smiled slightly. "When's the last time someone at my level of wealth said that and meant it? When's the last time one of us actually acted like everyone matters?" Sarah didn't answer. "I have a foundation," Marcus continued. "The Westfield Foundation. 50 million in assets that mostly fund galas and put my name on hospital wings. Vanity projects, if I'm honest. What if we redirected it? What if we built something that actually mattered?" "Marcus, you almost died today." "You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years." He straightened. "Sarah, I want to offer you a position as director of the Westfield Foundation. Full salary, benefits, budget to build the programs you described. You'd have complete creative control." Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. "I can't. That's not. You don't just offer someone a position like that." "Why not?" "I've read your resume. I've seen your work history. More importantly, I've spent this evening watching you parent your daughter, seeing how you've built a life of meaning and love from incredibly difficult circumstances. You're exactly who should be running a foundation meant to help people." He paused. "But more than that, you're the kind of person who risks everything for a stranger. That's not a quality you can hire. That's a quality you have to recognize and trust when you find it. I saved your life, so you're offering me a dream job? That's not how the world works. Maybe it should be, Marcus said quietly. Maybe that's exactly how the world should work. Before Sarah could respond, Emma appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Mom, I can't sleep. Can you read me a story? Of course, sweetheart. Sarah glanced at Marcus. I should... Go, he said, smiling. I'll let myself out. But Sarah, think about my offer, please. Sarah did think about it. For the entire sleepless night after Marcus left, for the 3 days that followed while Marcus was in meetings with the police and FBI, for the week after that when Marcus sent her an official offer letter with a salary that made her gasp out loud. She thought about it while dropping Emma at school, while sitting at her executive assistant desk scheduling Marcus's calls, while eating ramen for dinner to save money for Emma's summer camp fund. She thought about all the families she could help, all the terrified parents sitting in hospital rooms needing someone to tell them they weren't alone. She also thought about how jobs like this didn't just get offered, how wealthy men who felt indebted sometimes made grand gestures that evaporated when the moment passed, how accepting could mean giving up the security of her current position for a promise that might not last. But she also thought about Emma saying, success should mean being happy, and about Marcus's face when he'd said, everyone matters back to her, like he was testing out the words for the first time. 2 weeks after the shooting, Sarah knocked on Marcus's office door. I'll take the position, she said, on 3 conditions. Marcus looked up from his computer, something lighting in his eyes. Name them. 1, I want full autonomy. If you're going to second-guess every decision or overrule me when donors complain, this won't work. Agreed. 2, I want Emma's medical bills paid off, but not as a gift, as an advance on my salary. I'll pay it back over time. Marcus opened his mouth, clearly about to argue, then nodded. Agreed, though I think you're being unnecessarily stubborn. And 3, Sarah took a breath. I want you to volunteer at the foundation, not just show up for photo opportunities. Real volunteering, 4 hours a week, meeting with families, doing the work. Why? Because you said you've spent 20 years making decisions that prioritize profit. This is a chance to make different decisions, but you have to see the faces behind those decisions. You have to know the people you're helping. She met his gaze steadily, and maybe because Emma was right. Maybe success should mean being happy, and you've forgotten what that looks like. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, extending his hand across the desk. You have a deal, Director Chen. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the lobby of the Chen Westfield Family Support Center, watching families stream in for their orientation. The center occupied a renovated warehouse in the neighborhood, where she'd grown up, close to 3 major hospitals, accessible by public transit, designed with input from the families it would serve. Marcus stood beside her, no longer wearing his prince suits, but jeans and a button-down shirt, looking somehow more himself than Sarah had ever seen him. Mrs. Rodriguez brought empanadas, he said, referring to one of the mothers he'd been working with whose son was undergoing treatment for a brain tumor. She said the center feels too sterile and needs more home cooking. She's not wrong, Sarah said, smiling. I'll add a community kitchen to the expansion plans. The expansion plans? Marcus raised an eyebrow. We've been open for 3 weeks, and we already have a waiting list of 40 families. We're going to need more space. Marcus laughed, a real laugh, not the polished chuckle Sarah had heard in their early days. You're relentless, you know that? I learned from the best, Emma chimed in, appearing between them with Mr. Whiskers in a carrier. The center had a pet therapy program now, and Mr. Whiskers, transformed from a stray into a certified therapy cat, was the star. Mom's always been relentless. That she has, Marcus agreed. A news crew had set up in the corner, local media covering the opening. They'd wanted to interview Marcus, the billionaire philanthropist. He'd insisted they interview Sarah and some of the families instead. The reporter had not been pleased, but she'd complied. As the orientation began and families found seats, Marcus touched Sarah's elbow gently. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For saving my life, and then for saving it again by showing me what to do with it." Sarah thought about that moment in the parking garage, the split-second decision to throw herself in front of danger. She thought about all the moments since: the dinner at her tiny apartment, the late nights planning the center, the day Emma had declared Marcus was basically family now, the quiet revolution of watching a billionaire learn to see people instead of profit margins. "You're welcome," she said. "But Marcus, you did the hard part. You chose to change." "We chose to change," he corrected. "All of us." Emma tugged on Sarah's sleeve. "Mom, Mrs. Rodriguez says Mr. Whiskers needs to go meet the new families. Can I take him?" "Go ahead, sweetheart." They watched Emma carefully carry Mr. Whiskers toward a little girl who was crying softly in her mother's arms. Within moments, the child was reaching out to pet the cat, tears forgotten, a smile breaking through. "Emma's going to be an amazing veterinarian someday," Marcus said. "Yes, she is." Sarah felt her throat tighten with pride. "And she'll have the life she deserves, the opportunities she deserves." "So will you," Marcus said. "You know,